Hi, I'm Jim Bergeron, pastor at Holy Cross Lutheran Church, and this is a sermon for Reformation Sunday, which is on the 27th of October this year, based on John 8:31 to 36. 5 centuries ago, a monk named Martin Luther jotted down 95 talking points and posted them on the church door. The world hasn't been the same since. Father Martin was assigned to teach the scriptures in the early days of Wittenberg University. His academic responsibilities focused him through the doctrinal law of the church and brought him, through studying the scriptures, to a new understanding of the gospel truth. Gerhard Ebeling, eminent Lutheran scholar, notes, if we ask what is the utmost that can be expected from a university, Luther provides the answer. In fact, the Reformation was started with reforming education. The time was ripe for the discernment of law and gospel. The time was ripe for truth and freedom. In the mid-1970s, I was privileged to learn from Reverend Dr. Krister Stendahl, one of the century's great theologians. He was a keynote speaker at the annual Synodical Pastors Conference at Camp Luther Hill, near LaGrange. These were the days of roughing it at Luther Hill. No air conditioning, cramped mess hall, doing double duty as the conference room. I'll never forget his brilliant exposition of the law. He taught Romans 3, where Paul describes the law. It's the great everybody includer, mouth shutter, accountability holder, and sin teacher. The law is there. You can't avoid it, ever. There's a great song written by a man from Texas, Sonny Curtis of the Crickets. It was on the first album after Buddy Holly died. I fought the law, and the law won. Bingo. The law is an implacable demand. Our reaction to it is anxiety and guilt. Moses didn't just make it up on Sinai. It was already there, like gravity, just like death, just like self-evident truths that the founders lifted up. The stuff you can't not know. The law names what is happening now. The law hooks us in many ways. You don't have to be a genius to realize that one day you'll be existentially challenged, electroencephalographically flat. No you, no more. And every little ache and pain, sniffle and strained breath is there to keep you up to date on your progress, because the law is a limit on our time. The law hooks our sense of duty. We fall short in our deeds and aspirations. There's that maddening gap between who I am and who I wish I would be. The law teaches us the difference between right and wrong. We're all equal under the law, all sinners who've fallen short. Only one event can redress the unforgiving, relentless, inexorable demands of the law. That is the cross of Jesus Christ, the gospel. When Christ cried, "It is finished," on the cross, he said really only one word in Greek, tetelestai, which meant it is completed, a phrase commonly used in business transactions. Written across a bill, it means paid in full. Christ's death on the cross paid for the sin of the world in full. I was hitchhiking home on US Route 101 in California, northbound to Redwood City from my job in Palo Alto at Raychem Plastics. Hitchhiking on the freeway was illegal, but I was tired and broke. I didn't feel like walking 10 miles. California Highway Patrol officer pulled up in his new monster 1968 Olds 442 Cruiser, an intimidating machine. He checked my ID. He said, Kansas, you're a long way from home. I'm going to have to write you a ticket and get you off the freeway. It's not safe. There's millions more drivers in California than in Kansas. He went back to the cruiser, started writing on his pad. Then he stuck his head out the window and said, Hey, Kansas, come on over here and hop in. I'll give you a ride home. With just a warning ticket. You got a job, he said. I like that. He dropped me at my front door for free. Definitely the law. Definitely gospel grace. Law and gospel meet at the bottom of human life in the fact of universal sin. Law and gospel meet where God meets humanity. His name is Jesus. That's the gospel truth. Do not forget it. The truth will set you free. There's pain. There's slavery in forgetting. It was a college hippie hard rock crowd. The heavier the music, the better. Cream, Hendrix, Steppenwolf, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin and Iron Butterfly through the heavy metals now. Johnny Winter from Beaumont, and ZZ Top from right here in Houston, Texas. No easy listening there. One day, some wannabes are snuffling through my record collection like hungry javelinas rooting in the piney woods for truffles. But I'm proud. I know my vinyl is in the top 3 collections on the 2 campuses in Emporia. I'm getting ready to take these fellows on an informative, guided discovery tour from Memphis Minnie's 1929 rendition of When the Levee Breaks, covered by Led Zeppelin, to Willie Mae Thornton's Hound Dog, made popular by Elvis. When dust my broom, Elmore, a steely cry slides up from the alphabetized section. Hoople! With all the smug cruelty of late adolescence determining pecking order, they're taunting Hoople at me and waving a prized possession, Flat and Scruggs folk songs of our land. This, they crow, is evidence that you are a stupid, redneck country bumpkin. You don't get it back until after a trial to convict you of being a first-degree hoople. I was kind of crushed. I mean, they're stealing, first of all, a prized album, and I'm mortified that my rural Kansas roots have been exposed. My false urbanity is shattered. I protest. Three-fingered Scruggs style banjo picking's amazing. Just listen. It's been compared to Paganini's violin in his virtuosity. Yeah, they say, Paganini's a hoople wimp too, whoever he is. I said, hey, you're ignorant. You can't even hear fast enough to pick 4 notes out of a 32-note measure by Paganini, and you don't even know what I'm talking about because you're missing 7/8 of reality. Give me my record back. No, it's evidence for your trial. And here's another one. Johnny Young on mandolin. What's that? A weenie guitar? Looks like a dwarf. Now they've confiscated a rare Delta Blues album. I sublet to Ehrenberg, one of my housemates. He's in pre-law. Quite a privileged young man. I go to him, say, Bob, they stole my records. They won't give them back until they have a trial to prove me a hoople. So I need a lawyer to get my records back and prove me innocent of being a hoople. Bob said, okay, no problem. So, Bob, what's my defense going to be? We're going to plead guilty. Ehrenberg, you're such a hard guy to like. With all your strutting and jiving and a new Porsche every year, 100 girlfriends, I come to you for help. And you want us to plead guilty? Okay, Bob said, what's a hoople? I said, it's not in the dictionary, but they mean a Kansas country bumpkin. Bob said, well, this is rural Kansas. It's where you're from. You ought to be proud of who you are and where you're from. That was a redeeming thought that had never really crossed the radar of my conflicted self. Word got out, we're going to plead guilty. The fun went out of the situation. My album showed up on my bed. Life went on. I said, Bob, what do I owe you for getting my records back? You're amazing. You're going to be a great lawyer. He said, well, two things, one for each record. Number one, 3 months' rent. And number two, don't ever forget who you are. Well, that set me back $56.25. Cheap tuition for a lifelong lesson. I'd make it up by ghosting 2 term papers for the 2 fools who didn't know music and were too stoned to even write 1 sentence. Later, in the first quarter of seminary, I found out in Greek class that the word for truth, aletheia, means not forgetting. Jesus said, you will know the truth will make you free. You will not forget, and remembering will make you free. Forgetting is enslaving. Not forgetting makes you free. It took Jesus and an aspiring Jewish lawyer from Philadelphia in the 20th century, plus a Greek language professor Lintz, to clarify this for me. At great cost, Jesus has come to set us free. Kidnapped by the law, we're ransomed by the gospel. Jesus took the ultimate of brokenness in crucifixion and made it into the ultimate winning hand. Not forgetting that makes it possible to see our brokenness as an advantage. Here's the truth. Rename it. Baptize it. Call it learning and growth. Tuition in the great school of life. We're not just human beings crushed under the law, having an occasional spiritual experience to give us a little hope, keep on going. Now, instead, we're spiritual beings in gospel truth, given the grace and privilege of enjoying our human experience. Simply receive the gospel grace and do not forget. That's the truth. Amen.